What is the best data service automation without a chance to observe your data service instance? My name is Patrick Hartz, and in the last part of the video series about the a9s messaging service, we will show you ways how you can observe your running data service instance. In the previous video, the topic we talked about was related to HAQs and the RabbitMQ dashboard. The RabbitMQ dashboard can give you a lot of information, but it is not a good replacement for a syslog and a metrics service. Self-service comes along with a lot of responsibilities. Instead of calling a hotline, we should take care ourselves of our data service instance. You should notice as early as possible if a service instance doesn't run as expected before it hits the consumer. With a9s LogMe and the a9s automation for Prometheus, you have a good toolset at hand to observe your data service instance. Also, the a9s dashboard can give you a basic overview about the most important system metrics of your data service instance. Let's start by adding a metrics endpoint to our a9s messaging service instance. Similar to the a9s messaging service, we can simply create a dedicated Prometheus instance. In a later video, we will explain the Prometheus service in more detail. To save some time, I have already created one. So what we have to do now is first we have to create a service key. We need the service key to check which is the metrics endpoint we have to add to our messaging service instance. So let's do that. The service key is needed as it contains the URL we have to add to our messaging service instance. This URL is the Graphite endpoint, which is part of the a9s Prometheus service. Now we have created the service key, and to see what the content of the service key is, we need to command cf service key with the name of the service instance and also the name of the key. This is the part we need, and also the port. To add the metrics endpoint to the service instance, we will use the cf update command. It looks like the following. Like we learned in previous videos, this update will take some time. In the meantime, we will check the service instance URL of our Prometheus instance, and we can already open the Grafana dashboard. To do that, we need the cf service command. So copy the URL, open your browser, paste in the URL and add Grafana. The Prometheus instance we created already contains predefined dashboards as well as for the a9s messaging service and also for the system metrics. So let's first check the system metrics. As you can see, there are several metrics presented, like the disk space, memory usage, and so on. So we can also have a look on the messaging dashboard. As you can see, there are a lot of presets we can use to observe our instance. In the coming video for the Prometheus service, we will also show how you can set up alerts to be notified as early as possible when something goes wrong in your service instance. Not only metrics are important when you try to figure out why a service instance is not responding anymore. What we're doing now is we will add a syslog endpoint to our a9s messaging service instance. It's similar to the Prometheus thing. We just have to create a dedicated syslog service. The syslog service we offer at a9s is called LogMe. In the end, it's an egg stack consisting out of Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Also here, it is the same. We need the cf create service command to create such an instance. And to save time, I've already prepared an instance. So we just need to create a service key for the instance. By the way, our service instance is called LogMe. So cf create service key, LogMe, and then a name for the key. Here in the case it's my key. Retrieve the service key as it contains the syslog URL we need to add to our service instance. This is the part we need right now. And again, we have to update our service instance. What we can do in the time we are waiting for our service instance to get updated is we can retrieve the service dashboard URL from our LogMe instance. Copy the URL, open our browser window again, paste the URL, and then we see the service dashboard of our LogMe instance. So let's open the Kibana dashboard and see if we get logs now. Okay, this works. These logs are from our a9s messaging service instance. Also for our a9s LogMe, we will create a dedicated video series just about the service. And here we will explain in more detail how you can use the service and how you can check the logs from service instances. One thing we haven't talked about so far is the a9s parachute. The a9s parachute is a mechanism which observes the disk usage of a service instance, and it will shut down the service instance when the threshold is reached. This prevents the service instance from data loss or an unexpected behavior of the service instance. You can adjust this threshold by using the cf update service command. In our documentation at docs.a9s.com, you can find hints on how to do that. The command you would use is the same we are using for adding a syslog, matrix endpoint, or for updating the instance. The last topic we will talk about today is the service dashboard of our instance itself. To open the service dashboard for our a9s messaging instance, we need the URL for sure. It is simple, it's cf service my messaging. So, copy the URL, open the browser window, and that's it. The dashboard is split into several areas. The main area is reserved for the backup. We decided to not go into detail about the backup of an a9s messaging service instance. Message brokers are most of the time used as a flow control, and the assumption is that the working data which is contained in the queue is removed out of the queue until the job is done. So you would never restore working data, which is most likely not up to date anymore. One of the areas you can find in the service dashboard is about the operation of your service instance. It contains two buttons, a restart button and a recreate button. The difference between restart and recreate is that in case of a restart, the automation is just shutting down the processes and starting the processes again. In case of a recreate, the automation is shutting down the process, deletes the virtual machine, creates a new virtual machine, attaches the persistent disk again, and then restarts the process. The last area you can find contains system metrics. These metrics are the metrics of the virtual machine where your service instance runs. It's about the memory usage, the disk usage, and also the CPU usage. Like I said in the beginning of the video, self-service comes with a lot of responsibilities. I think with the topics we discussed in these videos, you are well prepared to operate your data service instance by yourself. In case you need more information, I recommend to have a look into our documentation you can find at docs.a9s.com. I hope you enjoyed the 4 videos about our a9s messaging service. We will create other videos about the other services which are offered by the a9s data service framework. Thanks for watching the video and see you next time.